The underground parking garage smelled of oil, concrete dust, and stale air. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting long, nervous shadows between rows of parked cars. Marcus Hale stepped out of the elevator, duffel bag over his shoulder, boots echoing softly. After months deployed overseas, silence should have felt peaceful. Instead, something about this place felt wrong. He scanned instinctively, habits forged in combat refusing to sleep. Somewhere, water dripped rhythmically. A car alarm chirped in the distance. Marcus exhaled slowly, telling himself he was home now, safe. But the uneasy tension crawling along his spine said otherwise. Marcus reached his truck and tossed his bag into the passenger seat. His reflection stared back from the tinted window. Calm eyes, scar along the jaw, shoulders built by years of punishment. A Navy SEAL doesn't stop being a SEAL just because he's off duty. As he opened the driver's door, tires screeched behind him. A patrol car barreled down the ramp and stopped sideways, blocking the exit. Red and blue lights exploded across the concrete walls. Marcus froze, confused. He hadn't done anything wrong. Slowly, carefully, he raised his empty hands away from his body, instincts shifting from warrior to survivor. The officer jumped out fast, hand already on his weapon. "Step away from the vehicle, hands where I can see them," he barked, voice sharp with hostility. Marcus complied instantly, stepping back, palms open. "Sir, is there a problem?" he asked evenly. His tone was calm, controlled, the voice of someone trained to diffuse chaos. The officer didn't answer. His eyes moved over Marcus with suspicion, lingering on his skin, his build, his military haircut. "You match the description," the officer snapped. Marcus frowned. Description of what? The garage suddenly felt smaller, air heavier, danger rising without reason. Marcus slowly knelt as ordered, placing his hands behind his head. Concrete pressed cold through his jeans. He kept his breathing steady, counting like he would under fire. One inhale, one exhale. The officer circled him, boots scraping loudly. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "I live here," Marcus replied, nodding toward the elevator. "Apartment 14B. The officer scoffed, as if the idea itself was ridiculous. "We'll see about that." His tone carried something deeper than suspicion, something personal. Marcus felt it immediately. Not procedure, not caution. Something darker simmered beneath the uniform. Without warning, the officer kicked Marcus's leg out, forcing him flat onto his stomach. Pain shot through his knee, but Marcus didn't resist. Training screamed at him to stay still. "Do not move," the officer shouted, though Marcus hadn't. Rough hands yanked his arms back, twisting them higher than necessary. The concrete scraped his cheek. For a split second, anger flared, the kind that had carried him through firefights. But he crushed it down. One wrong move here could turn lethal. He wasn't facing an enemy combatant. He was facing someone who was supposed to protect citizens. "Sir, I'm cooperating," Marcus said through clenched teeth. The officer leaned close. "Shut up." His breath smelled like coffee and rage. Plastic cuffs tightened painfully around Marcus's wrists. The pressure dug into old scars from rope burns during training exercises. The officer patted him down aggressively, shoving hands into pockets, pulling out wallet, keys, military ID. He paused at the ID, flipping it open. Silence stretched. Marcus couldn't see his face, but he felt the tension shift. "Navy SEAL, huh?" the officer muttered, voice suddenly colder. Not impressed, not respectful, just irritated. "Stand up," the officer ordered. He hauled Marcus upright by the cuffs, sending a jolt through his shoulders. Marcus swayed but regained balance instantly. Years of conditioning kept him steady even when abused. "You think that badge means something here?" the officer said quietly. Marcus met his gaze, calm but unyielding. "It means I serve this country," Marcus replied. The officer's jaw tightened. Something in Marcus's composure seemed to provoke him more than defiance would have. This wasn't about a suspect anymore. It was about control, about breaking someone who refused to look afraid. The officer shoved Marcus against the hood of the patrol car. Metal slammed into his ribs, knocking the breath from his lungs. "Stop resisting," the officer yelled, though Marcus hadn't moved. The accusation echoed loudly through the empty garage. Marcus realized then how dangerous this situation truly was. Words could become justification, movement could become threat. Truth didn't matter here, only narrative. Somewhere above them, a ventilation fan hummed steadily, indifferent to everything unfolding below. Marcus focused on that sound, anchoring himself to it, refusing to panic. Panic gets people killed. What neither man noticed was the small dome camera mounted high in the corner. It had watched this garage day and night for years, recording quietly, impartially. Its lens captured everything: the arrival of the patrol car, the aggressive approach, the compliance, the force. No bias, no fear, just truth stored in digital memory. The red indicator light blinked softly, almost invisible against the concrete. In a situation built on power imbalance, it was the only silent witness that couldn't be intimidated, threatened, or persuaded to look away. The officer suddenly drove his forearm into Marcus's back, forcing him down again. Pain flared white-hot across his spine. A groan escaped despite his control. "Thought you people were tough." Marcus's eyes hardened. He had endured worse, far worse, but this was different. In combat, violence had purpose. Here it felt petty, personal. He tasted blood where his lip hit metal. Still, he stayed motionless. He knew something the officer didn't. Strength isn't proven by fighting every battle. Sometimes it's proven by surviving long enough for truth to surface. Footsteps echoed from the ramp. Another officer approached cautiously, hand near his holster. "What's going on?" she asked. The first officer didn't look up. Suspect resisted. Marcus turned his head slightly. "I did not resist," he said calmly. The new officer hesitated, its eyes flicking between them. She noticed the cuffs, the blood, the lack of struggle. Something didn't add up. The first officer shot her a warning glare. "I've got it handled." She nodded slowly, but didn't leave. Doubt had already planted itself in her expression. Minutes later, building security arrived breathless. "Is everything okay?" the guard asked. He recognized Marcus instantly. "Sir, that's Mr. Hale. He lives here." Silence slammed down like a dropped weight. The first officer straightened slowly. "You sure?" "Yes," the guard said firmly. "He's a resident." The first officer's grip on Marcus loosened almost imperceptibly. The narrative was cracking. But instead of backing down, his posture stiffened, pride refusing retreat. Marcus felt it, the dangerous shift from aggression to desperation. "Doesn't matter," the officer said. He matched a report. The guard frowned. Report of what? No answer came, only tension. The second officer's radio crackled, dispatch asking for status. She glanced at Marcus again, then at the camera in the corner, finally noticing it. Her eyes widened slightly. Everything here was recorded. Her partner hadn't realized. A silent calculation passed across her face. Procedure versus loyalty. Truth versus convenience. Marcus was lifted to his feet again, cuffs still biting. The officer avoided eye contact now. "You're free to go," he muttered. No apology, no explanation, just dismissal, as if nothing had happened. Marcus didn't move. "Remove the cuffs," he said quietly. The officer hesitated, then unlocked them. Circulation surged painfully back into Marcus's hands. He rubbed his wrists, eyes steady, unblinking. "This isn't over," he said. Not a threat, just a statement of fact. By morning, the footage had already begun its journey through official channels. Security management flagged the incident. Internal Affairs requested copies. Someone leaked a still frame, then the video itself. Once released, it spread like wildfire. Millions watched the silent, unedited truth unfold. The compliance, the force, the words. the absence of resistance. There was no room for spin, no ambiguity, just reality, captured frame by frame.
News stations picked it up within hours. Commentators debated, experts analyzed, veterans spoke out. Fellow SEALs issued statements of support. Civil rights groups demanded accountability. The officer's report claiming violent resistance collapsed under the weight of video evidence. Public pressure mounted rapidly, unstoppable as a rising tide. Marcus himself remained silent. He declined interviews, avoided cameras, returned to his routine. Those who knew him understood. SEALs don't seek attention, they complete missions. Surviving. An internal investigation opened immediately. The second officer testified truthfully. The security guard did too. Piece by piece, the official narrative unraveled completely. The officer was placed on administrative leave pending review. His past complaints resurfaced, forming a pattern previously ignored. City officials initially tried to calm the situation with carefully worded statements. They praised the investigation process and asked the public for patience. But patience was in short supply. The footage was too clear, too disturbing to ignore. Community leaders held press conferences, demanding transparency and consequences. For many, this incident wasn't isolated, it was familiar. Marcus's story became a symbol of something larger, a flashpoint for long-simmering frustration. The garage where it happened filled with flowers, candles, and handwritten notes thanking him for his service and his restraint. Veterans from multiple branches began organizing online, voicing outrage that one of their own had been treated like a threat instead of a hero. Hashtags supporting Marcus trended worldwide. Photos surfaced of him during deployments, carrying wounded teammates, standing in desert camouflage, saluting a flag-draped coffin. The contrast between those images and the garage footage hit people hard. Here was a man trusted with national security, yet not trusted in his own home. It forced uncomfortable questions into public discourse, questions that could no longer be quietly avoided. Inside police headquarters, tension was just as thick. Officers watched the video in silence during briefings. Some looked ashamed, others defensive, a few angry, not at Marcus, but at the damage to the department's reputation. Leadership knew the stakes. Mishandling this could ignite unrest far beyond city limits. Internal affairs dug deeper, interviewing neighbors, reviewing dispatch logs, pulling body cam data. Every second of that night was being reconstructed with forensic. Meanwhile, the officer at the center of it all stayed out of sight. His name flooded social media, along with details of prior complaints that had never led to discipline. Former colleagues quietly confirmed a pattern of aggressive behavior. Each revelation added fuel to the fire. Public trust, once cracked, was shattering completely. Commentators asked how many warnings had been ignored before this moment. Marcus finally released a short written statement. He thanked supporters but emphasized he did not want violence or division in his name. Accountability strengthens institutions, silence weakens them. The message reflected the mindset that had carried him through elite training, calm, disciplined, mission-focused. It only increased respect for him. He wasn't seeking revenge, he was demanding integrity. Civil rights attorneys reached out, offering to represent him pro bono. So did military legal organizations. Marcus chose a quiet, experienced lawyer known for methodical cases rather than flashy media battles. The legal strategy was clear: let evidence speak louder than emotion. The building's security chief testified that the camera system had never failed in 10 years. Multiple angles confirmed Marcus never resisted, never threatened, never raised his voice. The officer's report, by contrast, contained claims directly contradicted by video. That discrepancy alone carried weight. The second officer's testimony proved pivotal. She admitted she had not seen any resistance and had been uncomfortable with the level of force used. Her honesty broke the wall of silence that often shields misconduct. It also put her career at risk, a fact not lost on the public. Many hailed her as a whistleblower. Protests continued, but Marcus attended none of them. Instead, he spent time with family, reconditioning at the gym, trying to reclaim normalcy. Combat had taught him how to endure chaos, but public scrutiny was a different battlefield entirely. Weeks later, the official findings were released. The officer had violated multiple use-of-force policies, filed a false report, and conducted an unlawful detention. Termination was recommended immediately. Gasps echoed through the press room as the announcement was read. Criminal charges followed: assault, falsifying records, civil rights violations. For the first time, the possibility of real legal consequences became tangible. Commentators noted how rare such outcomes were. Marcus watched the news quietly from his living room. No celebration crossed his face. Justice to him wasn't triumph, it was restoration of balance. Former teammates visited, bringing humor and normal conversation. They treated him exactly the same as always, which meant everything. Brotherhood doesn't disappear when cameras turn on. The police department announced sweeping reforms: enhanced de-escalation training, mandatory body cams, stricter oversight. Critics questioned whether real change would follow or if it was simply damage control. Community forums were held, allowing residents to speak directly with officials. Stories poured out, some painful, some hopeful. The incident had opened a door that would not easily close. Marcus attended one meeting quietly, sitting in the back. When recognized, the room rose in a spontaneous standing ovation. He looked genuinely uncomfortable, but nodded respectfully. A young boy approached him afterwards, eyes wide. "Are you really a SEAL?" Marcus smiled softly. "Yes." "Did you beat the bad guy?" the child asked. Marcus paused. "No," he said gently. "I let the truth do that." The case moved slowly through court, as major cases do. Each hearing drew crowds and media attention. The defense attempted to argue the officer feared his safety. The video made that claim difficult to sustain. Expert witnesses testified about proper police procedure versus what occurred. Their conclusions were blunt. The force used was excessive from the start. Public opinion remained firmly on Marcus's side. Polls showed overwhelming support across political and demographic lines, a rare moment of consensus. Months later, the verdict arrived. Guilty on multiple counts. The courtroom fell silent before erupting into subdued murmurs. Justice had been slow, but it had come. Marcus closed his eyes briefly, exhaling a breath he seemed to have been holding for months. Not relief exactly, something deeper, quieter. Outside, reporters waited for a statement. He stepped to the microphone, posture straight, voice steady. "I served overseas to defend the Constitution. Tonight, I'm grateful it defended me." The words spread instantly across headlines worldwide. He declined further questions and walked away, refusing to turn his life into spectacle. In the garage where it began, management installed brighter lighting and new signage. The camera remained in place, silent guardian, accidental hero. Residents said the space felt different now, not haunted exactly, but meaningful, a place where truth prevailed. Marcus eventually redeployed, returning to the shadows where special operators live. No cameras, no headlines, just duty. For most people, the story faded with time. For Marcus, it became just another chapter, not the one that defined him. But the footage still exists, archived and studied, a reminder that power without accountability is dangerous, and that sometimes the smallest lens can expose the biggest lies. In the end, Marcus didn't win because he fought harder. He won because he endured long enough for the truth to be seen.